Hi everyone, again a formal welcome to all of you to this fireside chat with Rahul Verma on how testing will look in 2025. Okay, this is a fireside chat format where we have simply collected questions, but as audience, you are open to ask as many questions as you want. We don't want time boxes session because we want to pick up Rahul's brain as much as possible and get knowledge nuggets here. Uh, Before I move on, a huge shout out to Browser Stack, who are our premium sponsor for all our conferences, an exclusive sponsor to all our community events. It should do companies like BrowserStack that we're able to do so many community events like these for free for our global audience and global community in general. Okay, about Rahul, uh, Rahul is a consulting tester and a coach with an experience of 20 plus years in experiments, which he call experiments in general. He works with Trendic, a German company specializing in this space, and Trendic is known to be the force behind the renowned ATD conference, Agile Testing Days. Uh, he has presented and conducted workshops and published articles on a wide range of subjects related to QA quality in various conferences and forums. Uh, as a coach, he has trained hundreds of professionals on quality from a pluralistic standpoint. He is a renowned voice on LinkedIn, speaks his mind, and champions the craft of testing in general. So, with that, let me welcome Rahul on stage for this exciting fireside chat session on how testing will look in 2025.
Thanks,
Hi, Rahul.
Ashutosh. Hello.
Good to have you, Rahul. Thank you for doing this for us. We have a lot of audience, and I hope we have a lot of questions and an interesting discussion coming up.
Yeah, I also look forward to it because I generally, rather than speaking on stage, which is usually a one-way traffic, so I
Yeah,
like the open-ended conversations much better. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, let's get started. Rahul, doing this on the theme for the session today is testing in 2025, a look into the future of testing and testers in general. Okay, so I look. So my first question to you is how do you think the role of testers will evolve in the coming years, considering the advancement in technologies like AI and machine learning?
Yeah. So, see, there are two futures, like it always has been.
Yeah,
So there's a future of testing and there's a future of testers. Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes we confuse these two things. These two are very different things from each other. Yeah. So for a moment, if we forget we are talking of AI or ML,
yeah.
let's just talk of any technology X. Yeah. So when it comes into its full shape, so there are some applications which would be done by applying the tech. So for
Correct.
example, AI and ML, you would see it being applied across the industry. Yeah. And the second part is that it would also be applied to testing itself.
Correct.
So that's where the dots connect as far as future of testing is concerned. That
Correct.
there would be more opportunities. Whenever there is a new tech introduced, there are new vulnerabilities, there are new weaknesses, there are new testing interfaces. So it breeds new opportunities. Yeah. New skills, new learning
Correct.
needs.
Correct.
On the other hand, because this is a tech, it's we are not talking of banking, we are not talking of
Hmm.
insurance. It's a
Hmm.
tech, and that
Tech.
tech would change the shape of testing itself, how we do testing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Whether we talk of test design, whether we talk of test automation, yeah,
Hmm.
or any day-to-day activities, production
Hmm.
of data, crunching of data, yeah, environment preparation, bug analysis. You pick any subject, and you would slowly see that AI would be applied to those things.
Hmm.
Yeah. Today, the industry is busy solving silly problems with a technology like AI. We are solving again the problems of UI. That is
Correct.
a sad state. We have been suffering from it for a decade,
For
two
quite some
decades.
time. Yeah.
Everybody is biased about UI, and
Correct.
that is the layer at which most of the people are applying AI to. I hope and I wish that uh, this doesn't remain true in the coming years. Once people are fed up of it, they move to better things. Uh, then comes the question of future of testers. And okay, You may not like me for what I'm going to say, because you asked for an answer, not an assurance, right? That
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
bad is going
I'm asking for your opinion, uh,
to.
not and
Yeah.
which might not be popular opinion, which is okay.
So people come to these platforms on LinkedIn and here and there conferences, and they tell that AI is not going to lead to loss of jobs. Yeah, we all know that's a big lie.
Correct,
It's a big lie.
correct.
Jobs will go away because there are many low-hanging fruits in testing, and it's not about AI. Some of those problems, their solutions have nothing to do with AI, but they would be solved with AI. Yeah. For example, you pick any basic technique, boundary value analysis. If the notion of boundary value analysis is basic arithmetic of plus minus delta, then it's not even an AI worthy problem.
Yeah, problem. Not a
Yeah?
problem. That's true.
And if a tester is spending a day and calls himself or herself a tester and doing this basic arithmetic and claiming test design knowledge, or in the name of regression testing, just repeating the tests
Correct,
which are already present without doing any regression analysis,
correct,
or doing cheap UI automation,
correct.
or doing cheap visual diffing, or there's an environment setup already done and this person just clicks a button, triggers the environment, cleans it up. If these are the activities which basically are your job right now,
Hmm.
this job first of all should not exist. Yeah, why is it
Yeah,
existing? Because the organization or the team has not matured. So
correct.
people are going to blame AI for this. And I give this analogy that an ant looks at a lion and says, I'm afraid of the lion. Ant need not be afraid of a lion. Lion has nothing to do with the ant. Ant should be possibly be afraid of a wasp or something, right?
Correct.
So these jobs which are going to go away should have gone away long back.
Already, already. Yeah.
Already. But they still exist because we are lazy. So these
Not.
jobs, in some way, I want them to go away so
Yeah.
that we, as testers, we do good testing. That's where we can be proud of the craft and the art of testing, not of this kind of shallow job.
Not only are we not only is they are not going because we're lazy, because I also believe that they are not going because there is an agency theory at play here. A
Okay.
manager would not want his team to be trimmed down because he will lose, let's say, a clout or a power in the org in general, because if these jobs go away his teams will reduce, right? So there's an
Yeah.
agency theory at play also. So this is much more deeper than just being lazy. That's what I feel in general.
Yeah. We always find ways in it. So
Yeah,
Agile came, Agile said no testers. And then a decade later, we said, no, no, we need testers. Agile said no managers, but we as an industry and where do we fire all of them? All of them, do they
correct,
become now scrum masters or product owners? That doesn't
correct,
happen. So
correct,
some of the people keep lingering on to their roles. And now they create these customized versions. At times it is necessary, yeah, to tailor make such things, but many a times, as you mentioned, it is just done for political reasons, which harms
correct.
in the long run. Yeah.
Correct, correct. So as orgs become larger, there are inefficiencies which creep in the system because of the lack of control and the lack of proper management of
Yeah.
talent pool. So I think this keeps happening. Yeah.
In Hindi, we call it khichdi, right?
Yeah.
We just we whatever is there, just put it and make some dish out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a good point that that future of testing with related to AI should go beyond the silly problems of AI, like you said, like just about UI. They should go to much higher order problems AI should solve, which is
Yeah.
very valid. And about jobs, like you said, jobs will go away because of AI.
Yeah.
Jobs will go away because of tech in general, and not just because of AI. Because jobs would have anyways gone long back in general.
There
I
would
think
be AI specific job loss also. Yeah.
also, yeah,
For example, there is this famous thing which we keep saying, right? Happy path scenarios, happy
correct,
path scenario, base use cases. The thing
correct,
is that we do a careful evaluation of what we do in the name of happy path scenario, for example, in a web app. Yeah. Or when you look at basic API testing. Yeah, whether it is for a local DLL kind of API, you have this class interface, or whether you talk of web service APIs. The basic tests which we conduct, there is, we say, right, the only rocket science is rocket science, right? So this is just basics and they are automatable. But I don't know, there are so many experts on LinkedIn who are more or less, okay, in a subtle way misleading testers. And that is not good. By default, if we say testing is for testers, testing is this. See, nobody owns testing. It's like a box of sweets. So now when the AI brings in changes, there would be a first mover advantage.
Correct.
In terms of learning, whosoever comes to the box of sweets first is going to take the sweet of choice and run away.
Choice. Correct.
And as always, what is going to happen, okay, and that is a prediction in the coming years, is that the major chunks of good testing would be taken by non-testers. That has happened every single time.
Yeah.
And the
Can you
reason
double
for
click on this?
testers are busy debating about or being too protective about this is ours, this is ours. They do nothing about it. They are not going to learn AI. They are
Hmm.
not going to learn the tech. They would just try to safeguard their existing position. And what would
Hmm.
happen is that the juicier chunks of the new forms of testing
Hmm.
in this all this noise is going to go
Hmm.
away to non-testers.
Hmm. That's true.
That's always, you look at DevOps, you look at anything, and now the same testers would look at DevOps or these technologies as premium, and they would
Aspirational.
become chips. They would
Yeah.
stop being chips.
As aspirational. That is true. And again, like I said, that comes from uh, again. I keep repeating this in sessions like this. Is that comes from insecurities, having victim mentality at play in our own heads. That okay, we want it to be something else. We're stuck here because most of us they believe that we are accidental testers and they don't enjoy the craft of testing and hence get better at it every single day.
And there's a double standard. Okay.
Yeah,
There's this hypocrisy. I know I'm saying things, some of the people are going to hate me for this, but it's okay. I think we have a safe space here. And I
yeah,
mean well. Yeah. You see, testing is easy. So most of us got into testing. And testing is also super difficult because only we can do it. You can't have it both ways, please. It's either easy or difficult, right? So when you had to have a job opportunity, it was easy as a stepping stone. And now when somebody's trying to take it away from you, it is super difficult. The testers have some magical powers without reading a book ever on testing that only we can do it. This is double standards. This is hypocrisy. If testing is special, and I believe I have been a tester for 20 years now, I believe that testing is important. I say these things. I have invested 20 years. I did not become a manager. Never. I have been a consultant. I love testing. So testing is difficult. So if I say testing is difficult, I have earned it. I have burnt hours on it. Okay, I have been studying like 4 or 5 hours for, I remember a streak in my career that for 15 years I was reading testing literature 5 hours a day. Whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm anywhere, it is such a deep profession.
correct,
Today, if you look at my learning list, I would not finish it in 20 years more. I would retire
correct.
in the same avatar which I
Same.
have right now. It is difficult.
Yes,
But just for the sake of saying, just for being protective about it, I don't think so it works that way. So we need to first
that's
of all make up our minds. Yeah. Do we love testing really? Or is it just a job which pays the bills? Because if it is just a job which pays the bills, uh, if I'm that person, I need not participate in any debates. I need not even express opinions about testing, right? Because they would be misleading. Yeah. So if the experts on LinkedIn, I don't want to take names, they are saying that testing is difficult. They have earned the right to say that. They have spent 20 years, 30 years on testing. That's the only thing they did. Why I say that is misleading is because suddenly a person who has nothing to do with testing just took the job, reads them, and now is sort of echoing their sentences. Testing is
Correct.
difficult. Testing is difficult. This person doesn't look into his or her own work. That is
Mhm.
my kind of testing difficult, right? If today I did some testing, is that testing really difficult? Is that is what we are talking about? No. This person just picks up one liners from those people, and sad to say, many influencers are also doing that. Yeah. The testing is difficult. Okay, show me what you're doing, which is difficult. Yeah. So you see, whatever opinions we form, it has to be backed up with evidence. And that is hurting right now because AI won't do, AI cannot do, these blanket statements of possibilities that some people are super, excited that AI would
Yeah.
solve everything. And others are
Yeah.
saying, no, 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 AI cannot do anything. Whereas
Yeah.
both of these parties know that the truth is somewhere in the middle.
But
If
and the
we,
fact of the matter is that as students of science or as scientists, we have just explored 0.00000 some part of this universe. So giving blanket statements like this is, uh, in general, is not helping anybody in that, of either sides. So
yeah,
because the exploration is just started, and
exactly.
and the teacher philosophy that it's always probable, because we have just explored a very, very, very minuscule part of what is happening around us.
Yeah.
So I think,
There, there was this beautiful scene in Tare Zameen Par. Yeah. So that if there's a tree and you just keep shouting at the tree, you're nothing, you're nothing, you're nothing, that tree will not become anything, right?
anything that is
The people who are saying AI won't do anything, AI won't do anything, yes, it won't do anything for you, you know,
correct.
because you've already you've already stepped back from
Already
it.
made up your mind. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but if you say that, okay, this is a baby plant, I can't treat it as a tree, let it
correct.
grow. And then, if we are skeptic, we should not lose skepticism. That's our basis as a tester. But
Mm.
skepticism is not to be confused with a naysayer. It won't work. That is not being skeptic. That is running away from reality. You
Right.
know, if a pigeon closes the eyes and thinks that I can't see the cat, so the cat doesn't see me. Now that's a choice we have to make. That do we want to
Yeah.
be that pigeon, or do we want to face the reality? Yeah,
God, I think that was an interesting opening question, and I think we went along, we went a lot deeper into this.
question.
But again to summarize, the future of testing in terms of AI and ML, it has to evolve. It has to evolve over lower order items, which we are busy solving for right now. Which Rahul said, in cheap automation in general. Uh, and then for testers, like there'll be jobs which will go away because of tech, because of AI. So we have to be uh, hand in hand with this, we have to be abreast with this. So that's what I had summarized uh, in short here. So now you said cheap automation. So Tam has a question here. What in your head is cheap automation? It's a very forward question. What is cheap automation?
Yeah, I'm sorry I said it. Okay, so cheap automation. So let's not go into the, languages are ambiguous things. So
Correct.
let's not focus on the word cheap. But let's talk about underexplored automation. That's what I meant when I said that. Yeah. If the version of automation is translation, that we, and especially a test translation, that we have a test which a human conducts. And when we talk of automation, we mean that this test, this entity is what we are translating into a coded expression. And now it should run automatically. That's what I mean when I say cheap automation. Because a test can never be translated. Never. That's part one. I'm a automation researcher, so this is not an anti-automation talk, or there is no hypnotic suggestion here. Yeah. That automation is good, automation is bad at the same time. No, I'm not saying that. So automation has a huge possibility when we first of all accept that we should talk of automation in testing. Test automation is a small part of that. Yeah, I've talked about it in various forums, uh, that any activity which you look at has the potential of being automated. When you prepare data, when you're preparing samples, when you prepare your environment, your setup, your tear down, your reporting analysis, even let's say you want to club your reports of exploratory testing sessions. So you see opportunities are all around. But whenever people talk of automation in testing world, they usually mean test automation. And the problem with that thought is that a test cannot be translated properly. There's a human interpretation involved there. So when
Correct.
you say that I have automated a test, there's no harm in that. There's no harm in the translation part. It's the interpretation which hurts. You automate, but you tell yourself it is partial automation. Okay. I'm not able to fully express in code what a human does.
What is the
That
correct?
acceptance. So that would keep you away from those metrics which you have been chasing. 90% test automation, 95%. You know, for
100%.
you know, you see 95% of what? One of the
Correct.
first principles which we are taught is exhaustive testing is impossible.
Correct.
So you are already working on a cut down version of testing. And now you are taking percentages of that and percentages of partial expression of coded test. You know, what is this game going on? How many times did it happen to us before it occurs to us that this is nonsense
Correct.
and this is a scam? Yeah. That's what
No, that
I
is
call underexplored automation. And it has bigger impact. Okay. It has a bigger impact on the industry. Why every time when people talk of AI today, you check LinkedIn, why people talk of UI automation always? In the same parallel world, the same consultants would be talking of agile testing pyramid, that unit tests should have more focus, these should have more focus, and the small tip is UI test. Then why are you spending all the research of AI on that small tip?
smart.
Why don't you go to the lower layers? Why don't you do something with AI on unit test where it is more rewarding? Why don't you do something at service layers? No, no, no. We would have alternate mechanisms for UI identifiers. Come on. Self-healing identifiers. Is that the problem which you spend years of research on? Why don't you solve the problem of regression testing? That's a problem unsolved for 2 decades. That how do you first of all decide which tests to run? This problem is not solved. This problem is not solved. But you see, it's not fancy.
And it's
Visuals
difficult
are
also
not
to solve.
visual demos are not done. So why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
the and the success rate is also not as high because there is no precedence in general. So
yeah,
again, the safe path to take, right? All of us want a safe path. So that's the kind of thing. But I think while answering this question on what is unexplored data automation, Rahul also gave insights about what are the areas of automation uh, which you auto, areas of automation and testing which you could explore about. I think as future path to all of us, those could be areas.
yeah. See,
Uh,
first word I would say, uh, you know, because this is not a prepared, scripted conversation we are having.
Correct.
English is not my first language; it's my third language. My mother tongue is Punjabi. My second language is
Punjabi.
Hindi. Third language is English.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry for the choice of that word. Underexplored automation is what
Yeah.
I.
Unexplored. That's okay. We'll beep that out while we put this on YouTube. So don't don't worry.
No, no, no. Don't beep it. Why beep it? I said it. I said it. It's okay.
That's okay. Okay. Uh, okay. Around we discussed the possibilities of what AI can do for in testing and in general about. So, what what kind of new skills might become essential for testers with uh, this new tech like AI, which has a lot of scope in testing in general? What kind of new skills should testers uh, eh, absorb for themselves?
See, there is an obvious answer to this that those of you or me, if I want to be testing AI based products or I want to apply AI to testing, which I certainly want to, then whatever are the related technologies, we need to learn that. Earlier, it was tougher because the moment somebody mentioned AI, the version in mind used to be models,
Yeah.
and this training and that logic and something. But of late, if you see, chat gpt has changed a lot in that direction, that people have started talking of prompt engineering. I
Correct.
firmly believe that this is not really a skill. It should go away. If we are really doing AI machine learning right, then prompt engineering is a tool's skill, not yours. So if you're building a tool, you would write, it's a framework design, right? So you
Correct.
layer, so ChatGPT treat it as a raw tool which accepts, let's say, raw prompts. So you can always write layers on top of it and then filter the responses, do some probabilistic things on top of it and build a tool. So those who work on such tools, let's say how to use ChatGPT for test design, you want to create a tool with that. Yeah. These people would need to learn prompt engineering properly, how to interact, because right now that is the interface with these LLMs. But then the users of that tool, why would they care? They don't need to. Yeah. So I don't think so. Prompt engineering would and should remain a skill for majority of testers. Today, the noise is there. I hope and I wish that if you're doing it right, this noise should die down. You should think of it like how many people in your organization know framework design versus how many of you do test automation.
Correct.
I remember one company where 10 people were framework designers and 390 testers were using that framework to do test automation. So if I have to draw a parallel, in the same world, 10 engineers are the people who need to be very good at prompt engineering, and 390 people, the bulk of the organization of testing, doesn't need to, because otherwise, what are these 10 people doing? Yeah.
Doing correct.
That's how I see that it's interesting to explore, but not a critical skill to build in the long run. Right now, if
Mm.
you want to explore, it's good. It helps.
Yeah.
Always learning the, if even if you're not doing framework designing, learning coding, design patterns helps, but is not critical. Yeah. So that's part one. Part two is uh, so this year I've been talking about back to basics. Yeah. All my talks, even this conversation for me is that. So if you want to survive, and I am on that path. So it's not something I'm just telling you. This is something I am doing for last 2 years. Is going back to basics, because there would be many loopholes and gaps which the AI, as applied to testing, is going to leave. I'm already finding them. I'm advising one of the AI companies now who are designing such tool. I already found multiple bugs. I've informed them, they're fixing them, right? Going back to basics, which means that if you pick boundary value analysis, go beyond that minus plus delta thing. It's a deeper technique. Go deep,
Correct.
because AI won't. AI won't, because who are building these AI solutions? They don't know testing. Remember that.
Correct.
You might see a contradiction to my previous stuff, which I said so far, because both of these are the truths. The people who know AI are not testers.
Not
So
testers.
they,
That is true.
so they are building tools to please the CTOs. That's the selling audience, right? So they are doing cheap testing work. So how do we survive? We take the deeper path. And deeper is not advanced. You have to learn some new tech. Learn
Mm.
what is the core of testing, but go deeper.
Mm.
Equivalence class partitioning, state transitioning, classification trees. Learn core of techniques properly and apply them. This is not a study to clear an interview. Yeah. How to apply systematic test design techniques, learn exploration properly. There is a lot of literature available around these things. There's work by James Barr, Kem Kenner, Michael Bolton. On the other side, there is a book called Testing Object-Oriented Systems by Robert Binder. That's a great book. On the unit testing side, we have great books. In security, of course, we have wonderful literature. Performance engineering, we have wonderful literature. So go deep. Pick a few things. And the first thing to go deep is the foundations. I firmly believe in that. So the subject which I picked up for me, I'm already working on it for 6 months, is sampling. That's what I'm studying now after 20 years. Because I believe that AI will not handle sampling properly. Sampling is basically the test inputs which you choose. There are gaps and gaps and gaps which you're going to find. So if you as a tester, you you would want to do more than what AI does.
Correct.
So the basic things would be very easily covered with AI and at scale. So what is the value we bring to the table?
Hmm.
What AI cannot do. So, and slowly, you would find it is sort of a race. That's how I picture it in my mind. That then AI further improves. It is able to model some of more things naturally.
More things naturally.
So we go further deeper. We find those loopholes. So there are two views. One view is that AI is the assistant to a human, right? The other view is the human is the assistant to the AI. In both these models, you need to know deeper. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So I'm counting on this. If I'm wrong, then you see I'm terribly wrong. And I would mess myself up, first of all, as a tester for next 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I'm counting on this. I'm investing my own time on this thought that learn the basics. So I'm picking up testing books right from the beginning and studying them and trying to make
Wow.
sense of it. Yeah.
I think that makes sense in the sense because that uh, the tech is so new, and like you rightly mentioned, it's not being developed by testers in general. It makes a lot of sense to go back to basics and see where it can be applied, because the developers of those tech haven't figured out those use cases, because essentially they are not testers in general.
They
So
might have, but there's another view also because
correct.
I've never say that developers are bad testers. Okay, it's
Correct.
just that their goals are different.
Yeah.
So the companies which are trying to build these AI tools, if you look at from their perspective, they're building a product.
Correct.
They need to sell that product. They cannot build all the features upfront.
Oh,
They would build features which would sell, and sadly, what sells is cheap. Okay, happy path scenarios,
correct.
basics of DVA covered. And companies are saying that our testers are not even doing this. And that is the irony. So I'm
Oh,
talking to one of the companies and I said, you are doing you're doing great with AI. I like the demo. Okay. But I said that do you realize that this is a very surface level testing?
surface level testing. Yeah.
Yeah. They said yes. But you know what? We have talked to 30 organizations so far. Their testers are not even doing this.
Oh.
That is the truth.
No,
So
that,
tool
yep.
which is doing surface level testing is doing better than testing teams, then what are we talking about here then?
I want to say that the bar is so low right now. That the bar is so low right now that it has to be.
Right.
The journey is so long. The
Yeah.
journey is so long. A lot of questions coming, and if I don't take audience questions, I think it'll not be good. So
No,
this
no,
is a
we should,
question from
I think
this
we
is a
should give
question.
more preference
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I want to give the preference there. This is a question from Saif. He's from Malaysia. He says, "Oh no, sorry. This books I will take a little later. Saif, I'll take this question for sure. But I have a different question here. Uh, okay, yeah. This is from Pankaj from Spans Media from Noida. How can an effective tester adapt within ecosystem and become an even more efficient tester per se? Actionable test here would be helpful, so that such transition as per the suggested plan. Pankaj is working as QA and Scrum Master.
Okay. So first of all, we need to figure out our game. Okay. Uh, I do not write a lot on LinkedIn in terms of influencing or something because uh, it doesn't matter. Okay, when you say things at scale, so right now for example I'm saying some things, you see, I would say the same thing, but the way it reaches multiple people is going to be different because your relationship with testing is different. The way I look at testing, the way you look at testing, what testing really means to you is going to be different. So my suggestions won't work for anybody for whom testing is just a job, because such a person would seek answers about money, job roles, a good job in a good company, and that's all what matters to this person. I cannot reach to these people because I can appreciate money matters. I come from a lower middle class background in India. I understand what money means. Yeah. But I'm not the right person to figure out job roles and how you grow. If that is the path of growth, I'm not the right person. So I'm going to give an answer to this question for the people who love testing. And I assume, Pankaj, that right now, you are that person. So with that assumption, I'm going to answer you. There's no action plan. You want an action plan? Start from today, start from tomorrow. A lot of good people in testing have done great work. Read them. Read every day and read something different. Okay. So you might revise some stuff, go deeper. That's what I do. Boundary value analysis, this simple thing, this simple thing, which you can get away by reading in 1 hour, 1 month, 1 year. That's the choice. How deep you want to, go into it. This is that deep. But then after the initial obvious stuff, it would become difficult and difficult and difficult even to locate people who talk about it or the books. And you would have to suffer through a lot of repetition because everybody starts from the same base extract,
Basic, yeah.
talks about it. And so the good thing for people who don't know the subject is the initial steps are always very easy. So if somebody is at that stage, what I can say is you have the luxury of knowledge. Please understand the initial steps of knowledge are so easy to learn that you have this luxury that whatever you read is helpful. You read next chapter, it is helpful. Once you finish this, you imagine you pick a second book, 50% of that book would be useless for you. Now you pick a third book, maybe 10% of that book is helpful. You pick a next book, maybe one page is helpful. You pick the fifth book, maybe one paragraph. So when you take the learning path, what becomes difficult is that you have love for testing to pick that fifth book, despite knowing that all these
Depending
four
that you
are a waste. You're seeking that one paragraph, and once you find that one paragraph, you're still happy because every time you're not really seeking addendum cheaply. You know the investment is going to be difficult, and that is what I call the luxury of knowledge, which for example I've lost for some of the subjects. I've read so much that if I even hear one good statement from somebody today which changes my mind, I'm so grateful to that person. Yeah. So those of you who are new, who are to testing in terms of reading and doing this, please understand the power which you have today. You're going to love it because everything would be useful for you. As you learn more and more, it is tough. So I think there was a question related to a book which
yeah.
Saf had asked. We parked it.
No,
So what
there
we
are
do at some point
bunch of
is I would give
bunch
maybe
of
a list.
questions on, yeah.
I would give
The-
multiple books for different subjects which I have read myself, which have helped me, and so that it becomes sort of a list of books
a
which
list of
people
books,
can.
yeah.
And then Pankaj, action plan is that whatever I say is not of interest to you. Okay, all or whatever I say, if all of this is not useful. So this is in terms of learning. We call it the sponge and the sieve approach. Right now, try to just absorb. Okay. And after that, once the session is over, sieve it. Throw away everything which is useless. Whatever I say is not, going to be useful to you. Most
Gospel,
of it is useless. So choose what one, two things mattered from the session,
yeah.
work on that, and do it every time. That is your action plan. I can stay in touch with you. We can connect on LinkedIn. We can continue helping each other because I'm also a student of testing. So the kind of experiments, for example, you do these days, I'm not doing those experiments, you are. So you have that knowledge, I don't have that knowledge. So that's how we help each other, and that's the only way. There is no expert. This word belongs in a dictionary. Nobody's an expert. No, you're not, I'm not, Ashutosh is not, nobody in this room, nobody in this
I'm
world, in
certainly
fact.
not. I'm certainly not.
Keep that
No, I think that is true. Words are being used very uncommonly. Very valid points. I think Pankaj, I hope your question got answered, and of course, you can connect with Rahul later if you have second order questions on the same topic.
Because beyond this overall general, I can give only generalized answers here, Pankaj. I don't know
Correct,
you. Yeah.
correct, correct,
So for something specific, maybe we can get in touch.
correct,
And, on one-to-one basis, once I know your needs, maybe I can suggest a little better, or I can suggest a better person than me, because, our way of thinking could be completely different. And
correct,
if I realize I'm not the person who can help, maybe I know somebody who can. That's a good thing
correct,
about our community. There are people who help each other. We are a good
correct. That
community.
is interesting. I say this about a few people that every tester must connect with. Let's say I say it that they should connect with some person. The reason being that if you have a question, either they will answer themselves, or they'll connect you to a person who knows the answer, or they'll
True,
connect you to a book where the answer is, or to a
true.
video where the answer is. So at times it's just not that that person might not know the answer, but he knows the address that where the answer must be lying in an envelope. So that is also as important as. And I think
I
Rahul is
do.
certainly that person.
Yeah, I had opened up a company many years back. Then I moved on to becoming a consultant. So I had hired only fresh graduates, from college. At at its peak, I had like 40 people working for me. So there was one rule which we had set in the company, that when somebody asks a question, answer with a question. It was like ingrained. It was
Yeah,
ingrained that whenever somebody comes to ask a question, don't answer.
correct,
So that the person goes back and, in the spirit of finding an answer to the simpler question, learns a little bit more about the original question. So it's not like shooing away or running away from it, but then that really helped everybody.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Rahul, we covered a bit on AI, and I think we spent a substantial time there. There is a second trend which is ongoing right now, not only in testing but in general in all professions. And this trend is uh, about the rise of low code and no code platforms. Even in non-testing things, there are things like Zapier, Pable, which are automating things very easily for non-testers also. So
Yeah.
how will the rise of low code and no code platforms affect the role of testers? And in general, like always, what challenge and opportunity do you see for testers there?
Yeah. So I think it's a similar question to the first question which you asked, which was about technology.
Correct.
This low code, no code solution, this is not a new game, really. It's just a better modified form of record playback, but then modeled into logical blocks which you can bundle together. And then whether you now express these logical blocks by a coded expression, or, there's this MIT platform called Scratch. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
To learn programming. My son learned programming at 7, right? On his own. So not from me. He finds me boring. So he went to this platform. And so what you do is you want to build a logic. So these are like Lego blocks
Yeah.
for if or while or for loop, and you
Correct.
bundle them together, and now you have a logic. Very good platform to learn programming without programming, the logic part of it, right?
Larger part of it. That is true.
So that's a good analogy when we try to understand no code, low code solutions. And I've commented on this earlier also, that if you are using a no code, low code solution to do test automation, do not call yourself test automation engineers. That's the first good thing you can do in terms of honesty to yourself. Because the moment you use such a solution, there is no test automation engineering skill left. You are acting as a regular tester, but using a tool which helps you express it in a certain way. And now that tool is taking care of all the automation for you. If we remain that way honest, we would be able to distinguish what is our core skill. The core skill in this case is not test automation anymore. The core skill of a tester using this tool is test design, which is a
That's design.
beautiful thing to happen. It goes back to the same thing which I discussed
Basics.
earlier, right? Going back to basics, now expressing more and more test ideas using such a tool. If we are expressing the older ideas and same number of ideas with a no code, low code solution also, it's a waste of time. And now there would be a job loss. The job loss won't happen if this tester does more.
Does more. That's true.
Yeah. So that takes skill and knowledge. Okay. It is going to go back to the same threads. The other part is that if you can build such a solution, try creating it, because in the creation of such a tool, you would learn a lot about automation engineering, a lot. Because this is an abstraction layer. You see, underlying, when you say no code, somebody already wrote code for you.
Oh, the code, yeah, for you.
And
That's
then,
true.
yeah, reusable modules, and maybe gives you a visual way of attaching these and choosing these, etc., so that you don't have to write a code.
You
Now
don't have
think
to
about
write code. Somebody else has written the code for you.
somebody wrote the code. So think about that person's coding skills and design skills. So you want to learn automation engineering, then create such a tool. You would learn a lot about test automation that way, or automation and testing in general that way. But you see, again, small population, smaller population. It's the same thing with keyword driven testing world, that if you have a keyword driven testing in your company, the people who created the keyword driven test automation framework, and to some extent people who create new keywords, are the test automation engineers. The people who write tests using these keywords in Excel sheets, or that is not test automation. They are
That is
writing an automated test, but not as a skill. Not as a skill. They should not include the word test automation engineer in their profile. When they look at mirror, they should tell themselves they are not test automation engineers. Once they accept it, if they are not interested in test automation, good. If they are interested in test automation, they should continue exploring on their own, because this framework would not let them. That's the truth. So
God.
it again goes back, right? That are we introspecting? What are we doing on a day? What does it truly reflect? Today or last year, what percentage of my time I was doing real testing, and how much time I was spending in meetings, not thinking about testing, and doing this, and then maybe writing this, or just doing nothing. Then this whole facade of experience fades away. Yeah. Because the reason I say, 20 years of experiments is that the moment I say 20 year of experience, it's a lie. Nobody has 20 years of experience in 20 years. I can say I did a lot of experiments in last 20 years of my age,
Hmm.
but not every hour, right? Not in the 8 hours. So when we say 20 years of, I can sit on a chair. I would age 20 years after 20 years, but that doesn't make
Hmm.
it experience. Solving the same problem over and over and over again is not called experience. So it's not something which is fancy looking. So I included it. I just wanted to be truthful about
No,
it.
no, you wanted to be truthful. That is true. Um, I have a counter. I have a devil's advocate question here. You said uh, try and develop your own low code, no code tool, which is okay to develop, which is okay to develop and understand test automation in general as a
Yep.
skill and developer skills. But uh, my how do I put this into words is what to do with that tool is like use it. Is it use deploy that commercially or deploy in your org, or is it like just use it for learning test automation?
Just learning. Why should there be
Like,
an end goal? Why should there be an
yeah,
end goal? So, like I've experimented with fuzzing frameworks at times, or I have deleted more code in my life than I at the end product, because every 1 year I used to look back at the work which I create, and I always dislike it. That there's a better way of doing it, and there has never been an end goal. For example, I have Arjuna as an open source framework
Arjuna, yeah,
now.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what come.
Uh, so I think it's 7 8 months that I last maintained it. It's a very big framework, and I don't really like it in its totality anymore. So many times I go to stage and I've presented, and one of the first things I say is that you may not need Arjuna. So I'm deriving ideas from the framework, but I'm telling you that if 1,000 people reach me as a tester, maybe 1 2 people have a problem which is Arjuna kind of problem. Okay.
Got
So you see, there is no end goal. I didn't create this framework so that I can sell it, become a vendor, or those things. Why should always be there should be any end goal to things, right? You can always enjoy doing.
Yeah.
That's goes back to my previous statement that why are you a tester? Of course, it
Correct.
pays the bills. Even if when you love testing, it would pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
Other way around, psychology is different, that it just pays the bills. And this is a tough reality I faced along my career. Earlier, when I got to stage or when I used to reach people, I would give the same advice to everybody. But now I try to, first of all, understand why somebody is a tester. Okay. If somebody is a tester and loves testing, that's what makes meaning for me to have a conversation. Otherwise, I don't make any advices or suggestions because doesn't work for me. Yeah.
Got it. Understood. Understood. Okay. Uh, okay. This is a question. I think I'll take an audience question right now. This is a question from. Where is it at? Okay, this is a question from Manoj. What's your take on SDETs having knowledge on DevOps tools? I think we addressed DevOps very figuratively in the beginning. Is it a nice to have skill or becoming mandatory skill for Q architects in general?
So I think it's more of a pragmatic decision. If you practically ask me, anything which you do beyond testing as a tester is a dilution of skill. I know how people are going to take it, but you see, it's focusing and defocusing. One thing is called awareness, and one thing is when you do it as your day-to-day job.
Hmm.
So if you are a tester and more or less your month is spent on DevOps tasks, it's the same time you did not spend time on testing. And slowly, when it adds up, when you look back, it's a very subtle thing. It's there's nothing, no harm in it, but then uh, for you as a tester, it is not good. Knowing about DevOps, how tools works, how they integrate, how what are the exchange points with testing is one thing. But then if you have completely become a DevOps engineer, I think you should stop calling yourself as a tester after that. There's no harm in that, because most of the confusion in the industry is created by this everybody can do everything sort of generalist approach. And when now these people come back, let's say you're a tester for 2 years, more or less you're doing DevOps and this environment and Dockers and everything. Now when you come to a testing debate, right, people don't realize that you're no more current with testing. You've lost 2 years already. So either you go back, first brush up your testing skills again, and then talk. Otherwise, we would have these diluted opinions always. And that's the same thing when a scrum master in the past 10 years back, this person was a test manager. No more, no more. Or a test manager who moves completely into people management and still claims to have knowledge on testing without every even touching a web application for testing ever in last 10 years. Because these are diluted opinions. As a career decision, I'm nobody to comment. It's your career choices. You saw better money, or maybe you did not like testing that much. You are enjoying DevOps, or you enjoy being a Scrum Master. That's a
Hmm.
very personal prerogative. I'm not doing commentary on that. But after that, please stop calling yourself as a tester. You can't have it both ways. If you're doing DevOps, then call yourself DevOps engineer. But I don't think so. There should be a problem with that because most of the testers actually want to get rid of the word tester from their profile, anyways. So, people are usually proud that automation engineer or
As it estates.
tester word. I don't see. I don't know. Do you see that often mentioned in profile? QA
Which one?
maybe.
Yeah.
QA. Okay, but QA sounds fancier.
Yeah.
But quality
It sounds
assurance
more.
engineer.
It sounds more.
Tester word is somehow lost. I don't know.
It sounds more.
I used
They sound. They sound more marriage worthy. What I call,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They sound
At
more.
times I think that most of the people, many people in our community, it's like as if the word tester or testing is a virus. Okay, it's like as if it's a disease to get rid of. That's not a comfortable thought, I know, but a tester would want to call himself herself everything else apart from the word tester. Yeah,
That's true.
there should be something fancy to it. SDET, software development engineer and test. This is just a designation, by the way. It was introduced for a different reason, but then companies just changed the designation from tester to SDET to attract people, and they are also
Yeah,
fooling themselves that, oh, we are SDETs.
no, that is true. That is
So this is a game. You're hired. The interviews which happen, they ask you all the automation questions in the world and code optimization and something. And once you land in the job, it has nothing to do with what was asked,
whatever I
but
was asked.
you continue keeping calling yourself SDETs because it pays better. So smartness wise, good, make better money, but somewhere in your heart, somewhere to
Yeah, it's
yourself,
not.
we should be telling that no, 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 this is something else. For money it is okay, but I'm not this tester at all.
Rahul, again, I have a counter question on this is that let's say I am a tester and I love my craft, and today the macro environment has changed a lot. A person is doing a lot of he's supposed to do from an org point of view a lot of other things. So let's say he's supposed to do some part of DevOps also, some part of Scrum Master also, because manpower is being optimized and roles are being merged and stuff like that.
Yeah,
How in that case a person identifies themselves, and how in that case a person makes himself ready for future? On what stream does he make himself ready for future, right?
yeah.
What does he call himself? Tester? Does he call himself a tester, call himself a DevOps engineer, or the three other things which is being asked to do it or not?
That is the irony, right? That is the irony, that
Yeah,
uh, quality is everybody's responsibility. Yeah,
correct.
we forget that. Yeah, quality is everybody's responsibility, but quality is testers only responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you see, occasional delusions are okay. You're helping the team. I'm not against team ethics and being helpful, but in the spirit of being helpful, don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to push for it. You'll need to explicitly ask for situations that majority of your work is related to testing. Just ask yourself, would a developer do this? Does a developer in your company do this kind of random tasks which are non-development tasks? The CEO of the company, would he do that? The Scrum Master, would he do that? You hire a Scrum Master, does he sit and test? Does he sit and develop? Does he sit and do DevOps?
Hmm.
Just reverse the question, and you would see that if you have such a team in which every time testers are put into these odd jobs, you're in a team which thinks low of testing or what you're doing in your company. Just look around and just reverse the tables and ask the question that who in your company are doing all these random jobs?
Hmm.
If testers are the only people you see that way, you have your answer already with you. So that team does not have a tester role. It has this general do all jobs that, oh, send a courier, collect something from the letterbox, and now do this and do that. If I were you, I would run away from that. Okay. I would ditch the money,
Sure.
I would ditch the designations, I would accept the struggle, and I would seek a tester role. But that's me.
Yeah, but yeah, but I was going to, but that's you. That's easier said than done. That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
That is true.
See, uh, I have accepted in my career the concept of money as a wave. Okay. And I can realize that most people cannot accept it that way. That's what I've
Correct.
been always adding a star mark to my discussions, because to me money is not like this trend. This is not growth for me. Okay. In the path of growth you have these waves.
Big
If
centers,
money,
big centers.
there would be, there have been parts in which the money is low. If you can accept that dip, if you have the courage, okay, to accept a dip in the money, then you can take your career decisions the way I'm telling you. Otherwise, please filter. Please filter the things
Please,
and what makes sense to you. Be sensible about it, please. I'm
please
not here to
sponge and
say
see.
Yeah,
like you said, please sponge and sieve as per your
exactly,
own.
exactly.
Please sponge. Got it. Okay, I'll do a quick audience chat. We are over time, and but I am ready to do this as long as Rahul is available and audience is available. So, audience, please press one if we can continue for a long more time in the chat, and if you want to go away, please press zero so that we can do it at a quicker speed. So, I think most of us is one coming here. Uh, Got it. I think either the zeros have not pressed, or all of them want this to be continued. Got it. Too late in my time. No, thank you all for the insights. Okay, thank you, Kunal. See you on the other side, Tam, and that's okay. We'll continue this. Try and attend as much as you can, and once you have certain other engagement, please feel free to drop and join the next time when you do an event. Good. I have a question from. Okay, no, I'll ask one of the pre-collected questions is uh, like you said. Okay, Rahul, let learn, go back to basics, read more books. Okay, we believe in general that's a mindset problem. Like we are very busy in our 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 or 9 to 8 jobs, and then families and stuff like that. How
Yeah.
to embrace a mindset of continuous learning is my next question. That I believe it's easier said than done. It needs to come. It need People need to come out of their comfort zone. But how do people do this? A mindset of continuous learning, mindset of interacting with experts like of the industry and reading books. How do people embrace this kind of a mindset?
Uh, I don't know. What I can tell is that, for example, people who are here, who have spared, 1 hour, and they are still being patient and kind enough to
Yeah,
continue along, they've already got it. That's all it takes. There's nothing more to it. There is nothing fancy motivational statement they need. So the people who are here right now, I don't know why they're here. Maybe they found the title fancy. Some of them, maybe they know me. I don't know what they were expecting, but they took the step of coming here and spending this hour of their life today. Right now, can they do it tomorrow? Not because there's a session happening, just pick a book, go through it when they're
yeah,
alone, or maybe meet a tester. Can they continue this hour every day? Is all it takes. There's no fancy formula around it. This is all just 1 hour a day, just 1 hour a
yeah.
day, and it adds up. But
It
then,
does.
it cannot be that I am preparing for an interview, so I would do it. It is a lifetime habit. Yeah, you do it today, you do it continuously this month, next month, 2 years, 3 years, 8 years, 10 years. That's what 20 years mean to me. And the initial pace of learning and the outcomes, the realization is slower. You would
So
not see much of a difference. But
correct.
then there is this point which would come. Some
Yeah,
people say,
there'll be an inflection point where you will realize, okay, now this is now, you'll feel that eureka in your head. Okay, now this is working out. You'll
that
feel that eureka.
is beautiful. For
Yeah,
some, it earlier depends on the subject also. For some, it happens later, but it does happen. And once
correct,
that happens, that point will keep you going for life. You would
correct.
not leave it. Okay, so it's like waiting for that point to happen, being patient about it. And once you realize it, it is a kind of happiness which can't be borrowed. I can, for
Correct.
example, tell about it, but you can't feel it. Okay, your form of happiness comes to you in this path of learning, and it is beautiful. That's the only thing I can say. There's no formula, there's no big motivational thing I can say that how to crack continuous learning, how to build a mindset. If you're not that person, the only thing I can say is force yourself into it.
Force yourself into it.
Okay, you don't
Well
need to
said.
think big. I'm curious, that curious, questioning habit. Don't think too much, just
Yeah,
spend the hour. If an hour looks too much, spend half an hour every day.
yeah.
Spend some time, and in a continuous way force yourself into it, as if you're binge watching. We all binge watch Netflix, and then
Correct.
at least this much time we can spend, we can binge watch ourselves.
Yeah. Um, uh, I uh, uh, I uh, I ran a marathon a few years back. I didn't prepare, and the day before the marathon, I googled how to run a marathon. because because I didn't prepare it for it. And there was an answer written that park every kilometer for a goal which you desire. For example, the first kilometer I'll run for my father,
Yeah.
second kilometer I'll run for my mother, the third I'll run for my son, something like that. So we could do it like this, okay? The next 15 days I learn 1 hour every day for my
Yeah.
family. The next 15 days I learn 1 hour every day for my. So park yourself with emotional goals, or let's say goals which matter to you. I think they might drive us to be more consistent, and once that inflection point comes, uh, it gets a lot
That
more easier, I think.
we don't think this much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we together answered this question. I think this one worked out well. uh, okay, there is a question from Tanmay. There are two questions from him. Okay. He says Tanmay is SDET at Dream Sports, Dream 11. The T-shirt sponsors of the Indian cricket team. The title sponsors of the Indian cricket team. Yeah, everyone should be able to write feature code. No, not testing team. To write and test your own code. I would appreciate if you shed some light on this, sir. There's one more question, Rahul, which I'm projecting on the
Other-
screen right
Okay.
now. What is continuing to the question above? The idea is that everyone should be a developer.
Mhm.
And everyone should own quality. You write your own code and test and you write your own code in the test case. Okay, no need
Yeah.
for the QA team. What are your thoughts on this? Is what Tanmay is asking.
So, in an ideal world, this should be okay. Not completely okay, but decently okay. And this is the base of the agile pyramid also. Yeah. And the developers who from whom I've learned, I have not basically met a good developer whom I considered a good developer who wasn't a good tester.
Hmm.
Good developers, they focus on design, the quality of the code, they do unit testing properly, they engage with testing teams also, even they give test ideas to testing teams also. So they are good developers. But if you look at the practicality of it, okay, let's say you have a very, well, not really a very startup team. Let's say you have a product with in which 10 developers work that way.
Hmm.
Now, those 10 developers, let's say in a planet X where you're able to find 10 good developers in the same team and you're able to afford them also, those 10 developers, they write good code, they're testing it, but then it's not just individual units or modules of whom the quality of for what you're caring about the quality. These are going to integrate. So now you're also assuming that they would know all the integration part also, and they would take care of that. They would be allocated time for that. For a moment, skill wise, let's assume they're able to do it at this layer. Now, all these units, they're taken to a system kind of environment. And let's now assume that these people are also business savvy and they're also able to put together, think like a users of the system, user personas, etc. They're able to do it and in different environments. Let's also assume that they're superheroes, so they are also aware of functional part of the quality as well as performance, as well as security, as well as usability, accessibility, and everything. All the best for finding such people. It doesn't work. Testing is a specialized skill. If I spend 20 years learning just about testing, there is something I would have learned more as compared to a person for whom it was 5% of his work throughout these 20 years. It can be assumed that way, right? Practice, focus, exploring test design techniques. When you go deeper, of course, you would find more information because the exponential part, as Tanmay mentioned, it adds up. You
Yeah.
become a specialist. So if we are testing specialists, can we add value to a team? Of course, yes. I believe in that idea. So this question is not a new question to me. Kent Beck, I hope you've heard the name. So he's the person who developed the concept of test-driven development. He wrote on LinkedIn the same thing, that testers are not needed. And I replied to him the same thing. That do you mean to say that 20 years of my dedication to testing, and I won't be able to add a value to where you follow test driven development. And that's what it is. Okay. This is
Yeah.
something which has been in the mind of many experts in the industry. They would continue saying that this is also the foundation of agile. But just because in the minds of some people it is the foundation of some famous buzzword does not make it right. As a consultant, I
Understood.
can tell you it. I have never seen this extreme model working. This goes back to my original statement that answers are never in extremes. If your
Correct.
answer is all testing would be done by testers, on the other hand, the extreme is all testing developers can themselves take care of. These are two extremes. The answer would never be at these extremes. The answer is somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the mix. Developers need to do testing because if all the testing is done by testers, it's too late by that time. You would be struggling as a company.
Yeah.
You need developers who care about quality, and
Quality
then,
of
of course, testers, we have to care about quality. So we need a mix. Any other solution has never worked and never will.
never will.
That's
That is true.
yeah.
Yeah. Then I hope your question was answered ably by Rahul. Uh, uh, my next question to you, Rahul, is that considering the rapid pace of change and demand in the sector in general, uh, where the continuous learning seems relentless. There are a lot of things to learn. You want to learn automation, you want to learn AI, you want to learn DevOps, you want to learn data science, the people want to learn blockchain. There's so much to learn. And there's also a feeling of FOMO, like fear of missing out. Okay, if I don't learn this, uh, how
Yeah.
will I survive in general? So everybody's might be feel a lot of us might be feeling overwhelmed here, right? How do we navigate through this overwhelming feeling which we might be getting? Okay, how do we navigate through this overwhelming feeling and start and rather have a learning trajectory on this?
Oh, I've answered this question already. There's an easier answer to this, a sane answer to this, which is leave it. I left it. I wanted to be sane because this is crazy. There's no way that you can have a tester just keep hopping from one thing to another and still specialize.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is possible. That's what people are doing. People used to tell me tool is just a tool, Python is just another programming language. I can program in Java also, I can program in C sharp also, I can program in this also. And now when I go as a reviewer to these companies, one of the projects had 97% code reduction. The minimum I have ever seen is like 75%, 80% code reduction. A development team for whom I reviewed the code had 40% code reduction. So you see, specialization helps. I'm a Python coder for 15 years. It helps. So I took the difficult path. I started saying no to anything which doesn't fall in my skill set. So these tools, we have Cypress, we have this, we have that. It was going crazy for me. So I thought, okay, I would focus on automation engineering as a skill. So I took that skill to an extent that I became a reviewer. And now you do a walkthrough of your C sharp automation code, I would be able to improve your code without knowing C sharp, right? That's a path I created for me, how I was able to make sense of it. I know it's not always possible. I can
yeah,
appreciate that because opportunities become lesser. I believed in the idea that if I'm choosing a specific path, like there's no role as such that you have to be test automation framework reviewer. That's not a consulting service you see often. But I also told myself that if there are less roles like that, how many people are there in the world who do it? Yeah.
yeah.
So if we are going for Selenium or Playwright or Cypress or this and that tool, we are also signing up for a mass scale in which we are one amongst many. There's a couplet I would translate for people. It's by Wasim Barelvi. हर शख्स यहाँ भागता है भीड़ की तरफ और ये भी चाहता है उसे रास्ता मिले. Yeah?
so so
Everybody
so
towards this mass and this and
Yeah,
popular, and forgets that they are an ant in that crowd. Now they have to actually compete with so many people. So you see, no easy answers. Different people have found answers for this different ways. And for your information, they make much better money than me. Much better. My peers make much better money than me. Okay. So there's no wrong or right choice. Some people are able to even manage this insanity, hopping from one place to another. If you could be that person, if you're not that person, please do not give up. I am that person. I'm still surviving. I have decently done good for myself. Above all, I am happy. So if you feel out of place completely and there is a lot of peer pressure, at the least you can take this message from me. You're not alone.
yeah,
It
that's
is
true.
tough. Yeah, it is tough. Try to find a way of your own. Don't lend to, don't break down, please. Don't tell yourself that there is something wrong with you. Whatever is wrong is with this expectation around us. Okay, tell yourself that when you're down, that message you can take. Path is yours, decisions are yours. Yep.
That is 100% true. That this feeling of overwhelming is perfectly natural, and it's happening with everybody in general. It's not,
Yep.
and it's just not in testing. It's in all the professions in today's day and age, because they're evolving so rapidly.
Yeah.
Be Even if you're a marketer or a developer, you are a operations manager, there is so much to be done, and you always feel, okay, this is missing, this I couldn't do, this I couldn't do. But then, like you mentioned, you have to clear in your own head and make peace with that thing, that okay, this is
Correct.
the path I've chosen, and
Yeah.
how do I
As
tackle
long
this?
as we can be at peace with ourselves, everything is okay. Whether
Correct,
we
correct.
remain a tester, whether we don't remain a tester, doesn't matter. All these are small problems after that.
Yeah,
But when we lend to peer pressure, industry pressure, buzzwords, and this is lacking in me, you see, you could take this towards a positive direction and do something about it, or every day just, it brings you down. So that choice we need to make. The least we could do is that be kind to ourselves, be
correct.
forgiving to ourselves that
Yeah,
life is okay. I'll do something about it.
yeah. Oh, that's true. This is a question from a fresher's point of view. And before I take this, folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A tab. We're doing this session again. We're doing this session for a longer time, and I'll be happy to take more questions. So this is from a fresher's point of view, Rahul. This is from Sai, who's from Bangalore. He's a fresher and he has done a course in software testing. He's a pass out of he's a 2 years pass out, and has a career gap of 2 years. He's confused. I'm confused about, should I need to upgrade my skills for getting a job as a fresher. So I think uh, that's not his question. That's a question for a lot of people in general who are freshers into testing.
Okay. Uh, Financial situation, those things I can't comment on. I faced my own financial situations in my life. Face yours. There would be emergencies, I know. Face those emergencies. Okay. But then in terms of uh, getting the job or something, there are practical aspects of it. What companies call you, what companies don't call you, I can't comment on that. That's a struggle, which is not just your individual struggle. Many people have to go through that. In terms of knowledge, I can comment that how do you build and keep patience with that. Read good books, please. Go through good courses. And just so that you know, most of that information is free on the web. So you're on your own, study on your own. I am happy to help you. Okay. I'm not going, I answer questions with questions. I would guide you for free. I can give you homework, but then you have to be patient. And this question is the last time you ask this question, that how do I get a job? This is for job forums. Nobody can answer this question to you. Your job
Yeah,
search is your personal journey. When you come to these forums, seek knowledge. Okay, that's the thing. These I or anybody can offer to you. We can show you a path. How do you go through things? Which books you study? How do you build your testing skills? With the hope that as and when chances come your way, you're able to demonstrate your skill. That's the only
correct.
thing. Apart from that, it's luck and timing and those things. Somebody does bulk recruitment, maybe you get through the system. Nobody can count on that. That's you and your destiny. But in terms of concrete help, that's the best thing we could do to help you. Yeah.
Correct. I think there's this question on. Okay, Rahul. Again, this we discussed briefly pre-session also. There are you are active on LinkedIn. A lot of us here are active on LinkedIn. We know what the testing world is doing. There are majority of testers who are still off social media. They are not on LinkedIn. They are not. They don't have access to communities. They don't have access to thought leaders like you. According to you, who are these people? What stage they are in currently? As technically none of us have access to them through any medium. They are far from debate and knowledge of LinkedIn. A, are they at risk or are they at benefit? Sometimes being away from noise is also beneficial, right? First, are they at risk or are they at benefit? And if they are at risk, how do we mitigate their risk if we want to mitigate their risk?
Okay.
That's the question.
I think the role of social media is overplayed, including LinkedIn. That as if you go to LinkedIn and that is the source of information. Practically, what I can tell you is that whatever I've learned, yeah, maybe 1% of that comes from social media. 99% of my knowledge is from reading books, doing real experiments, interacting with people, true in person interactions, or the messaging part of LinkedIn. Not really whatever people write, socially in posts, because there is a lot of drama going on there. It's misleading. Everybody's trying to sell you something. Even in the garb of education, people try to sell you something. And that's where at times it is damaging. So, this whole notion of AI versus non AI debates, there's an agenda everywhere. So, from that perspective, actually, we need to be careful on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Very careful. Very, very careful because I call these hypnotic suggestions that there are many damaging, posts and those things. They look very innocent. They're not. They're not. Yeah. So people who are not on LinkedIn, I see a comment also, and then you took it back saying, just kidding. I think you're right that many of the good testers I meet, they're not on LinkedIn. They don't have time for LinkedIn. They're doing work. So I go to Romania. I have many clients in Romania, especially in automotive domain. You go to their profile, they have not, there's nothing in their profile also. It's just name and something, and they are dealing with such good technologies in terms of testing automotive. They're door handles, access systems, or sensors in cars. That's what they're testing, and they are not, they don't project it as if they're dealing with a great technology, they're great or something. When I reach them, they show that they don't know about testing. Okay. And on the other side, the people who are so vocal on LinkedIn, they might have tested a simple web app in their whole career so far, and suddenly they're experts in testing and they're talking all this big thing and stuff. That is the disconnect. So I don't find the comment, I feel they're sane people. I think they're sane people. So, but then it depends on how you use it. Do you need to really open it every day and read all the posts? No. Depending on your schedule, I'm not saying keep off social media. I'm not saying that, because LinkedIn is basically a great place to find people with whom you would want to interact and learn from. That's the least we could do. You can look at the notion of their posts, be honest about it, fight yourself throughout, reading all this, and then try to locate their work. Because all those authors of great books I've read, they are on LinkedIn. Yeah. So you can ask specific questions, you can seek help. That way, it is a great platform. But in terms of content consumption, it is overrated. Books, specific books on subjects by authors out there, or courses which they do professionally, or even on YouTube, they are better sources of information. Yeah. So from there are luckily some good Indian testing influencers out there who are sharing sane content. Brijesh, I like his work. Vikas Mittal, writes sane posts, and then we have Naveen, of Naveen Automation Labs. So he does good work. Very committed person. He has like 1,000 videos on YouTube. That takes a lot of commitment. Yeah, on automation stuff. So they are good people, but then they are so few in number that you have to really locate them and be careful about it. So that's what I would suggest. That but spending every day a lot of time on social media trying to consume everything or feeling FOMO or those things, no, that's a useless thought. Yeah, I usually go to LinkedIn just to write mostly. Then I've been off LinkedIn I think for 2 years, something. So didn't have any big impact on my career or something. Overplayed. Yeah.
Got it. I think we have more questions. Potential question is done. Uh, I think we are already how many minutes? We're already 90 plus minutes into this session. Uh, I think now we can take up the book reading question. Which books do you recommend to people? Like, if you want to tell now or if you want to tell offline, you can send this
So
on
there's
email to
some
people.
books, some books I can maybe start writing in the chat and
Yeah,
speak along. Yeah.
yeah,
So course, testing computer software by Ken Kenner. Yeah, there's a co-author I don't remember. Very good book overall. And in case you can get hold of Domain Testing Handbook by Ken Kenner again. This is a recent book. This is wonderful if you want to go deep into test design. Yeah, these two are good books. Philosophically, yes, lessons learned in software testing. So these are usual books. I'm writing them. Most of the people already know about it. Yeah. So these are the usual books. Yeah. Now here comes the books which people don't talk about in testing community. Testing object-oriented systems is a great book on test design in general also, not just object-oriented systems. This is by Robert Binder. It's a very intimidating book. You can possibly beat a person to death with it. 1,200 pages, big chunk. No, really.
just like
And
just like the just like the algorithms book which we used to read in college. Like I don't
yeah,
remember the author again.
it's hardcover. So you
Yeah,
really hit. It's
yeah,
boring. It's intimidating. You can't read it in one go. It's not a novel. It's a lifetime book to carry with you.
yeah,
Wonderful book. The kind of things you find in this book, you don't find elsewhere in none of the previously listed books. Very, very rich book. He has a pattern language in which he describes test design techniques. Wonderful piece of work. So that is in general, if you're thinking onto white box testing or those things, this is one book. The other book is The Art of Unit Testing. There's no book called white box testing. Okay. So you want to go on that path, you basically translate these concepts. Now this is with examples in C#.NET. I don't know C#, I don't know .NET. I still studied it. You can also, because code is just pseudocode. Yeah, I was a Python coder, so I read code from here. I tried to create corresponding example in Python, and that's how I read this book. This is a wonderful book. These two books put together, these are the two books which you follow in case you're interested on white box testing. I strongly recommend. You were talking of future safety.
yeah.
These two. Yeah. All right. There's a book called Performance Solutions by Connie and Lloyd. Those who are interested on the performance side. Now, these are not testing books, okay? They give you the thought process of performance. They have performance patterns, anti patterns. They would kickstart your mind in the performance direction. Wonderfully written, one of the greatest books ever written and referred in the field of performance engineering, okay? In the security, there are multiple books out there. If you are in the web space, then Web Application Hackers Handbook is the only book you need. Yeah, it's again a big book. I think 900 pages. Very comprehensive, very approachable, and there's in A Press is the publisher. There's something called Foundations of Security. That's a very easy book. Small chapters, 19, 20 chapters, I think. They would teach you the foundations of the vocabulary part, or what is authentication, authorization, what is the relationship, spoofing with it, what is integrity, what is confidentiality, and some basic attacks. Their concept would be taught to you in a very simple to understand language. Very small book. It's an A-Press application. And so there's another book I can recommend. It's called Threat Modeling. So this is from Microsoft publication. So these are like there is a book on fuzzing, brute force vulnerability assessment. Many of these books would sound like they are only security books. The thing is that if you want to be good at testing, stop seeking information only from functional testers. Okay. The irony we face is that most of the testing books are written by functional testers. They don't tell you that. They would claim they would write any random stuff, load testing, performance testing. You see, I have done performance engineering, I've done security engineering. I can see those, like, the holes in what they say. Okay, it's not very clear. Those holes are very clear in the books they write, and they are, I don't want to take names, 30 years, 40 years experienced people. You see, so these are false claims. That's the reason I'm recommending you books which come from different domains of quality, from usability engineering, not as a process or something. There's a book called Don't Make Me Think. This you can read as a novel. Okay, you have a flight of 2.5 hours, maybe you'll finish the book. Great book. Don't Make Me Think. It's a book on usability. Yeah. Any good Indian authors' books you recommend? Oh, Indian author's book. There's only one I've liked so far. It's by Unmesh Gundecha on Selenium. So you can find his Selenium related books. If you want, if you are into Selenium web test automation, from Pacti publication, try to find content by Unmesh Gundecha. Wonderful, wonderfully written books. I think he has two, and they are very well written books. Yeah. In testing, don't think so. Yeah, Desikan wrote the book long back, but it's dated. So, of course, it's one of the initial books. Srinivasan Desikan, he wrote one of the initial books in software testing, but you see, it's a bit dated. The way you would find the testing computer software is also dated,
Yeah, related it.
yeah, but it still has things which you could extract from it. Yeah. So these are there are other recommendations, but you see, there's no point listing all the books here. So the way I proceed is I read a book, I see what this author refers to, then I go there. If that interests me, so you need to have an author pool and a book pool with you, and your book list should be such that, so for example, my mind, I'm not able to at times understand the complexity of something, so I always pick 2 or 3 subjects at a time. So I learn something in a concentrated way because my mind doesn't work in multi-threaded way. I can't pick 3 things at a time. Yeah. So I choose 3 things, but I don't pick 3 things. So I choose 3 things. I start with one. There comes a point either I'm intimidated completely by the complexity or it's not adding up now. So what I do is I park that first thing. Then I pick the one of the other 2 things so that the continuity of learning is maintained. Next time when I pick the first one, what I try is I read it from the beginning.
Yeah,
So if it took me, let's say, 2 weeks, it takes a day to revise it. So it brings me back to the same thought process. I do a lot of note taking along the way because I forget. I'm not blessed with great memory, so I take a lot of notes, and every time I take notes, I try to write an interpretation of what I read. I never copy a sentence from anywhere and write it down directly. So I either draw a diagram, I either develop an analogy to explain it to me. So you see, these are ways which have helped me, and hence I'm sharing with you. Whenever you do note taking, they should be you. Do not copy sentences. That would keep you away from one-liners and dialogues also from these experts.
yeah,
So you would not do blind quoting that, James says this, Michael says this. Enough of that. Interpret
yeah,
it. Those experts would like you for that. They never asked you to copy paste them. Never. They wanted to create a community of thinkers, not copy pasters. So they would
yeah.
also understand it. Whenever you take a
And,
note, write it in your own language. That language may not
and
be fancy, but it's yours. Yeah.
yeah, write it in your own language and write it in a way you can comprehend it today and if possible tomorrow also. So that's the kind of noting which one can do. I think we're done now, and I want to end this by first of all, before you, I would like to appreciate 42 people right now on, but you have taken the first step towards continuous learning. You have given
Yeah.
us your 90 plus minutes today. Try and keep the same consistency tomorrow also, and day after, and the day after, and the day after. And there'll come a point where you will love this every day, and where you will not need all of us to, let's say, trigger you or push you into all this. So, first of all, thank you to all the 42 people who have stayed with us, and to the rest of the people who dropped out because of time constraint or something like that. So, first of all, thank you to all of you, and super thank you to you, Rahul. It's always a pleasure to hear you. It's always a pleasure to learn from your experiments of 20 years, not experience but your experiment of 20 years, and your actionable, philosophically yet actionable points of following which people can do. So super thankful to you. And I'm like Mahesh mentioned before, I think that's crawled up. As organizers, you always look into metrics like how many people turned up, what's the engagement rate, and stuff like that. But it's first, it is one of the very few sessions where we are glued into the session, where we are enjoying the conversation which we are having, where we're almost not worried about some of the off things which would have to which could have put us into trouble, which you're okay with, because there is session, because there's a more candid talk happening here. So I think that's okay for us. So as organizers, we are super thankful to you, and thank you so much, Rahul,
You-
for this.
It's great to be here. As I mentioned, always a pleasure. I think two,
Yeah,
3 years back we had done an AMA,
yeah,
and
I
that also
think
I think 2.5 hours or something.
yeah.
So always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Rahul. And people asking for a part two here, so we will see if we can find a we can find a common time again and do a part two, and which is much more free flowing. If
Yeah.
this was not free flowing, yeah. So thank you
Thank
everyone,
you.
and thank you Rahul for doing this. Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much.
bye.